Hello, guys, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Now, it's been a hectic weekend, and obviously, I gave you our first little bit of reaction to the Jake Paul fight yesterday, in which I highlighted that I was right again. Ray and Yas, they didn't get that one right. That was all me. But before we get on about how good I am, there's a lot to cover, so we'll get straight into it. We're going to start with Lomachenko. Yes, I'm going to come to you because he did get the win, which is the critical point. However, am I being harsh in feeling like it wasn't all that?
Well, not really. I wouldn't necessarily think you're being harsh in saying that because, it was his first fight back within like 10, 11 months. He had the long layoff. And obviously he's gone through a few things throughout that time. He's had the injury on his shoulder. We know shoulder injuries, we've seen with other fighters, they're not exactly easy to come back from. And it takes a fighter a few good fights to get back to, getting that confidence to be in themselves. And obviously he had all what was going on in Russia as well. So you can already imagine mentally the kind of stuff that he was facing to even get himself up for this fight. So I expected him to win, which he did. I weren't sure if he was going to look, the usual Loma that we see who comes in there and, breaks people's heart and, really and truly gets them to quit themselves pretty much. So, yeah, I feel as though he done what he had to do. There was obviously, I'd give the performance probably like a 7 out of 10. There was some cobwebs there that obviously for the next fight, whatever fight he decides to take next, they should be gone. So yeah, but nonetheless, he got a win against an opponent who came to put up quite a good fight, and he made a good account of himself, Jermaine Ortiz, and he surely, secured himself a few good fights in the future. I feel like now he's going to be that guy that they probably look twice and think twice before they accept a fight with him.
Yeah, well, before I come to you, Rhea, yes, obviously Ortiz has said today, that he sort of feels like he possibly deserves a rematch. Obviously, we all saw the fight, and he definitely had success, and it definitely wasn't the one-way traffic that some people thought. Some people on Twitter even were calling that Lomachenko actually lost. I don't agree with that, but has Ortiz got a legitimate shout for a rematch, or not really?
I mean, of course he's going to say that to back himself. I mean, he's just gone 12 rounds with one of the, an elite level, one of the best guys to do it of recent times. And he put a really good account of himself. It's not like he got beaten up and busted up like that. So, of course, he's going to feel as though, you know what, I'm worthy and I'm entitled to another shot because obviously at the end of the day, it's a business. And is Jermaine Ortiz going to get another fight that's going to pay him in the foreseeable future? Is he going to get another fight that's going to pay him well and give him the exposure and the credit like as Loma will? I don't think so. But I feel like the win was for me, even though Loma didn't, put in the usual kind of performance, it was quite clear to me who the winner was. I personally had it 8-5, 7-4, however way you want it really. I feel as though as it got into the championship rounds, Loma did, he started to put together shots, and obviously he had the crowd behind him, and he started landing them telling shots. So I feel as though now Loma, for where he is in his career, he's a three-weight world champion, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He should chase the undisputed fight with Devin Haney because I don't feel like we've said it on this channel a few times. We feel as though Haney may not hang around at this weight. So get that fight and move on.
No, 100%. I mean, firstly, guys, Davey, you're with us again, mate. Pleasure to have you back. K99, great to see you with us, mate, and some new names popping up. So that's brilliant. Ray, obviously, Yas has talked there about Devin Haney and that undisputed fight. Now, I'm going to give massive respect to Devin Haney because a lot was made about Errol Spence last year not getting in the ring after Crawford beat Sean Porter, and he said he was advised to not do that, but he was still heavily criticised. Let's give some respect to Devin Haney because he did not mess around at all. He immediately got in the ring and basically said, this is the fight we want. Let's get it made. One, is that the fight you want to see? I'm assuming it is. But two, is that, let's not forget, Lomachenko might be pretty young in the pro game, but he's got a very long and illustrious career as the amateur game as well. Devin Haney's still very young. Is it the right fight, or is it too soon?
I think Devin Haney should probably go to 140. I think that's best when you look at how he was in the skills, although he put in the performance. I think he's probably best to test himself at 140. When you become undisputed, I think it's now a case for you to move up to the next weight class and see what you're about then. It's a prize fighting sport, and let's see if you can get glory in the next weight class. So for me, I would like to see Devin Haney test himself up against the boys at 140. It's not the greatest division in terms of depth of talent, so I can't see why you can't have a good go there. Having said that, if you can still safely make the weight at lightweight, then for me, the best fight should be Lomachenko versus Haney. I like the Stevenson fight as well. I think Stevenson would pose just as much problems as what Lomachenko would. I would say Stevenson might sound controversial, but on the outside, I think he's a better boxer than Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko's better mid to short range. But on the outside, I would definitely favour Stevenson. So he would pose Haney different problems than what Lomachenko would, but they would both pose him, irrespective of that, different issues. They're both great fights in their own right. Is it too soon for him? No, because we've called for this on his channel, and I've called for it as well. I've got to keep the same energy, is the phrase that we always use. You know, we can't keep saying that he needs tests, and when he's given one, it's too early. He's had Cambosis twice. He's had Linares. So Lomachenko, and you got to remember he's undisputed. So once you're undisputed, you're fair game. Anyone who's elite is a test for you that you should be taking. So if he does step into the ring with Lomachenko, for me, that's the right time. And if he loses that, you can't say it's too early for him.
No, I don't disagree. I mean, there's some calls for it, you know, saying Loma will go into beast mode and stuff. And I can see that sort of argument, but I do think people are underestimating Devin Haney there. We'll move on somewhat, because this is one now that I'm going to have to actually eat a little bit of humble pie. So are you, Yas. Jojo Diaz and William Zepeda. Now, Yas and I both called for Diaz wins. We thought he'd be too tricky. We thought Zepeda was just a one-punch knockout artist. Ray, hats off to you, mate. You called it. Zepeda got the win, and not in the manner we expected. It was a points win, and it was very, very impressive, I think you have to say. I'm sure Yas will agree. I'll come to you first, Ray. Do you want to just give us a little bit of a background on this one and break it down a little bit?
I didn't get to see it, unfortunately. I only saw like little bits of the highlights, which can be biased, as we all know. But from what I saw, Zepeda was pretty much pressing the action, and kind of what I thought would happen. I thought Zepeda would be the aggressive fighter, and he would take the fight to Diaz. And it was, and what I said on the preview was that Zepeda would be too big, and he would impose his will on Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz is more effective for me at super featherweight, and obviously you can't make those weights more, but the best of him was at super featherweight. I just felt as though at lightweight he just wasn't big enough. Wasn't a concussive puncher. Wasn't able to hit Zepeda hard enough to keep him off him, which is a big problem. I mean, Zepeda's got 23 stoppages, I think it was. So although I didn't think Jojo Diaz would be stopped, I just thought he would be too much. His pressure would be too much for Jojo Diaz, who would swiftly run out of ideas. And it looked like that from the highlights. But like I said, I couldn't get the opportunity to watch the full fight. But from what I saw, that's the way the fight looked as though it was going.
No, 100%. Yes, this is a statement win for Zepeda, and I think everybody will agree it's something that can catapult him into that elite level, or certainly puts him in the queue, doesn't it? Depending on what happens with the belts, as we just talked about. But how impressed were you with Zepeda?
Well, literally, as we called it, we originally had Diaz winning, but Zepeda, he literally put in a very good performance. I feel as though from watching the fight back, he bossed it for me. from start to finish. The fight was on his terms. I feel as though he outworked Diaz, he outpunched him, and he out hustled him. Like he was in there and he was really on it. Like you can tell, he's really psyched up for the fight. And that win for me, it puts him in a good position. Obviously, now people are going to sit up and take more notice of his name, but obviously, he's not going to get a title shot anytime soon because obviously they're all tied up with Haney, and he's probably likely to fight a Loma or something like that. But I feel as though the next stage for him now would probably feel like a good fight for him because I feel like I wanted to see him when I started to see how he was dominating. I wanted to see him potentially push for a stoppage because the way he was beating up Diaz, it wasn't the same way that Haney beat him up, and the way he lost to other fighters. So I was really impressed with the performance, and I feel like moving on, I feel like a good fight to make for Zepeda would be to fight the guy that Lomachenko just beat. So for him to fight Jermaine Ortiz, I feel like that would be quite a good fight for him as a next fight, just to keep him busy.
See, now there's going to be politics in making that around promotional situation. So here was going to be my next question for you. Well, for both of you, actually. I'll come to both. We saw a statement win off Gary Cully in the same division on Saturday. They're both with DAZN. I know there's the Golden Boy matchroom, but, shows can be made. Ray, thoughts on Joe? This is for Diaz, mind, in fairness. Jojo Diaz versus Gary Cully, what are your thoughts?
In terms of how that fight would go?
Well, would it be a good fight? Is it something that you'd be interested in at this point?
Yeah, of course it would. I mean, I'm kind of under the view that Gary Cully will end up fighting Maxi Hughes. So that's what I've been kind of thinking. Is it a good fight? Yeah. I mean, Jojo Diaz would come forward. Gary Cully would immediately go onto the back foot. It would either be really technical or really boring because of the similar stances, isn't it? So, but I do expect if Jojo Diaz isn't very intelligent coming forward, he'll walk onto one of those big shots of Gary Cully, the big left hand, when Gary Cully's moving back. But if Gary Cully moves back in straight lines against the ropes, and Jojo Diaz is clever with his pressure, which he wasn't too clever against Zepeda, because I kind of thought Jojo Diaz is an intelligent come forward fighter. He may end up targeting Cully's body, because we don't know how well Cully can take a body shot. He's a tall, lanky, skinny frame. If Jojo Diaz cuts off the ring well, he can target that body and cut him down. So it could be a fascinating fight. It could be a ball fest as well. But that's a fight I would want to see for sure.
Yes, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it would be quite an interesting fight because obviously we know Cully he's massive for the weight. So I feel like it's a case of can Cully keep him off his chest, and if he can, as long as he can maintain a good distance, good range, and just work off the jab and maybe catch him as he's coming in, like Ray said, and he could probably get a stoppage win because he does hit hard and he's really big for the weight. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight, to be honest. And obviously we know they're obviously on the same platform that builds Cully's name a bit more as well now that he's fighting on DAZN. So it's not a bad shout, to be honest.
No, I like it as a fight, and I think with Diaz coming off the back of this loss, it's a good roll of the dice and a good name value if they're serious about putting Gary Cully headlining a show at the arena in Ireland. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I just think that there's a big jump from his last opponent to Jojo Diaz. I still think Jojo Diaz has got enough about him to make. I think Gary Cully's probably about two fights, maybe possibly 3 away from a Jojo Diaz.
But if they're going to try and get him to headline a show on his own in Ireland, he's got to have a dance partner, hasn't he, Ray? That's my worry. Unless potentially Maxi Hughes would make sense, but for me, the queue for the world titles is so big now at 135 that people are going to go stale. So they may as well start fighting each other. Diaz is coming up with couple of losses, Haney, and obviously now Zepeda. So for me, it's probably a good payday for him as well, going over to headline in Ireland. What else does he do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether he thinks, well, I'm not getting sold out like because they would have to pay him a lot of money to drag him over to Ireland. I just think that the way the Americans are, they tend to be reluctant to come over unless it's for a title, don't they? You never know. I'm obviously he's with Golden Boy, and Golden Boy get on quite well, don't they, with
Yeah.
Matchroom. They're kind of both with the zone platform, if you like, in some way or another. But it's if that fight was made, I'd think, wow, this is going to be this. It's got it's got like an interesting fight written all over it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just think that Gary Cully, if they want to progress him, I just think that they may have to be careful not to overly match him at this point. Like I said, I see shades with Lewis Ritson, good and bad, where they kind of rushed Ritson a bit because he was stopping everybody at lightweight, and then he got unstuck. And I just kind of think with Gary, he probably needs somebody that will give him rounds as well as not being perhaps clever enough and smart enough to probably hurt him. Do you see what I mean?
No, I definitely see where you're coming from. We've got a couple of comments in.
Yeah.
Great pleasure to have you back on with us, mate. Thanks for joining us. I've liked Zepeda for a couple of years now. I like the power he brings at 135. So strong for the weight, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. No arguments off any of us here. What was it before the weekend? 23 knockouts in 26 wins. So definitely no arguments. Davey, sorry, lads, almost set my kitchen on fire. I've had you on speaker. But to be fair, Davey, us being on speaker is the most important bit of that. I mean, I'm glad you're all right and everything, but if you'd have said, I had to turn you off, that would have been bang out of order, mate. So, we'd have no one to send you hoodie and T-shirt to, would we, after the other night? Then we've got Artman the Great. You're back, mate. Glad to have you back. Yeah, this is a topic that we've got for a little bit later on. Fury is a funny man. He tries to play the mental health innocent guy, but he's banned from America and an active member of the Kinahan cartel. Well, yeah, he's linked to that. And obviously Tommy Fury has today confirmed that him and Tyson and their team, well, close family anyway, can't go into America. Guys, we'll shuffle the order a bit. We'll start talking about Tyson Fury now. For those that didn't see it, he's done an interview with True Geordie. And firstly, massive respect to True Geordie for saying it like it is, saying it how most boxing fans do actually feel. And we've had boxers on. And to be fair, I think, I'll probably speak for us all. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to ask questions you want to ask because you don't want to upset anybody. You appreciate a boxer giving up their time, or any guest really, giving up their time to watch us, come on, be interviewed by us. So it's tough. But True Geordie did it, and he basically said that he didn't feel Tyson Fury should be in the ring with Derek Chisora. He talked about levels and said, you've beaten him twice. There's no reason to have that fight. Fury's comeback to that was, well, I'd beaten Wilder twice, although the first, on paper was a draw. People paid for the trilogy, and he believes people would pay for even a fourth fight, which, to be fair, I don't disagree. Geordie went back at him with, but obviously Wilder has that knockout power that's the big equaliser. That creates intrigue, makes people buy a ticket. Long and short of it is, definitely, guys, check it out. It's on True Geordie's YouTube channel. But Tyson Fury called him all the names under the sun at the end of the interview. The usual DOS, a few expletives in there as well. And I'm going to be honest, as a fan, I just thought he came across like a bit of a helmet for the whole interview. Guys, I put this in our group chat last night, so we had a quick chat about it. I'll come to you first, Yas. What are your thoughts on this? Because I don't think Fury's come off well here, and obviously Artman the Great also thinks that.
Yeah. Firstly, big respect to True Geordie. He asked questions that a lot of other journalists wouldn't ask, or when it comes to Fury, because he was pulling him up on his behavior in a way. So I respect him for that, and obviously. He even said it himself, like, I'm a bit like, he's made it clear he's a big Fury fan and he was still able to, do you know what I mean? So fair play to him. Obviously, Fury right now, he's rattled. He's like we've said previously, the public they're not happy with his recent actions. And obviously the Derek Chisora thing was just like a name out of the hat just to save face. Because obviously he saw the backlash of when, it was quite clear that there's a chance that he would clearly fight Manuel Sharp. But from the interview, I gathered that the energy from Fury was very hostile from start to end. I just feel as though his comments obviously weren't too, they weren't too, pleasing, and as it was quite sad to see. So yeah, I don't really have much to say on it, but it's just Tyson Fury being Tyson Fury, to be honest.
Definitely. Ray, what were your thoughts on it?
I think Tyson Fury was off with Brian from the start. I think he basically said, "Look, I've only got about 40 minutes, so crack on," and that set the tone for the interview for me. I felt as though he had no choice but to challenge him. It was probably made easier. And in what people forget is that he complimented Tyson Fury during the interview. He talked about how good of a fighter he was, but he pulled him to task. I mean, this is the same guy who says he would fight for free, but then all of a sudden he wants $500 million. And what people are forgetting, and I can't believe people aren't mentioning this, when he talks about, I beat Deontay Wilder twice and people paid for me to fight a third time. That's false. Actually, Deontay Wilder went to arbitration because Tyson Fury, if you all remember, was intent on fighting Anthony Joshua. He didn't want to fight Deontay Wilder. He was forced into that because he almost forgot he was contractually obliged to fight that fight with Deontay Wilder. He had no intention of doing it. He was forced into it. This is the same Tyson Fury that wriggled his way out of fighting Klitschko in that rematch you're supposed to be having with Klitschko. So Tyson Fury he gets made to be whiter and white, and he's not. And this is what gets on my nerves with people with Tyson Fury. I understand what he's been through in the past, but let's be particularly honest. He seems to give certain people rematches and not others. John McDermott, Derek Chisora. He seems to be really proud of this Derek Chisora rematch. What it comes down to is Derek Chisora is a very good friend of his, and he's given him a very big payday. The same rationale behind when he tried to make Isaac Lowe his trainer.
Yeah, no, and to be fair, Geordie said that as well, didn't he? He said, for all the, talking press conferences, we know you're obviously friends with Derek Chisora, and this has got the sort of smell of giving your mate one last payday. And, you can't argue with that. They've been seen for the last few years. They're clearly friends. So, no one can really argue with that. We've got a few comments. Greg's back. Fury has a big weakness. He's very easy to taunt. Yeah, you can't agree. He was rattled straight away. But some good comments coming in and some contrasting ones. Davey's in. I think True Geordie intentionally wound him up. He started the interview with KSI and Tommy Fury. So instantly annoyed Tyson. Why not talk relevant topics? It's things that nothing to do with Fury. Yes, thoughts on that one?
I mean, he did I feel like he did talk about things that have to do with Fury. He also, I feel, wasn't it mentioned that Fury once said he doesn't care about how people perceive him and his legacy, but then he goes on 2 minutes later to say, "Oh, I'm going to be one of the only heavyweights to have 2 trilogies" or something like that. So it's very contradicting what he says. It's like I don't understand. His behavior is very weird and it's not consistent. And he's quick to call other people names, etc. But the moment someone has an ounce of criticism for him, they're a dosser, they're this, they're that. So it's just not good, to be honest.
No, I agree. I mean, I can see where Davey's coming from. However, Tommy's his brother, so he's obviously going to try and get his thoughts on that. And Tyson said about YouTube boxing's irrelevant. It's great for everybody involved, but nothing to do with him. However, when his little brother, who's in the same camp as him, is chasing YouTubers and bottling YouTubers twice, I've gone on record as saying that on this channel over the last 12 months or so, it then is relevant. So I think that was a fair topic. The Conor Benn comment I thought was where he asked him about Conor Benn. I could see where Geordie was going with it, but at the same time, like you said, he's not in my division. He doesn't need to talk about that. So I can sort of understand where you're coming from, Davey. But at the same time, I do think it was, if you watch some of Geordie's interviews, they cover all things. And for me, he's one of my favourite sort of interviewers. He says it how it is, and they get through a lot of the bullshit. To be fair,
I don't think he's wound up Tyson Fury. I think if you watch Tyson Fury have interviews with other channels, let's just say Sky News. So this was in the build-up to the Dillian Whyte fight, and Sky News spoke to him about Daniel Kinahan. He just did not want to talk about Daniel Kinahan. So at the end of the interview, after the back and forth, he gets up and he goes, "I'm not doing any more interviews with Sky News." And that's what Tyson Fury's like. You start asking him difficult questions, he doesn't like it, and then he just refuses point blank to be interviewed. That's just the way he is. People, and you think about people who get access to him aren't going to be like that. And that's how Tyson Fury comes across. So I don't think Brian from who's True Geordie is wound him up. I just think Tyson Fury was already wound up. He didn't like that style of questioning. He didn't like being challenged, and that's why he was ultimately upset.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest issue with it for me was the abuse at the end. Like, he was awkward to interview, but that's going to happen. We've done interviews ourselves on a much lesser scale. I'm not comparing us, obviously, but where we've come off and felt though, they could have gone better, or we could have done better. The questions could have been better, so that you have to accept that. However, to abuse him at the end and, Mr. Mental Health Advocate, which massive respect to Tyson Fury for speaking out about his difficulties, but you shouldn't then be abusing someone, calling him a baldy, wanker and all of it. He shouldn't be doing that for me. I think it's wrong. Like, you can't be preaching about, you want to help people, and then you're doing that. I thought it was bang out of order. Greg's back. He cannot handle being told that his opinion's wrong or someone is disagreeing with him. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
He wants yes men all round. And then Davies back. IFL interviewer Umar done an interview with Gareth A. Davies and said they did it to make Fury look bad. So now I've got a massive issue with that comment, because Umar is obviously Frank Warren's little boy. Eddie Hearn's accused him of doing sort of propaganda interviews, and the next interview was joking about being propaganda, but they were joking about it whilst continuing. Propaganda's a strong word, but they were joking about it while continuing to peddle Frank Warren is obviously far superior to Hearn and his stable's better. And Gareth A. Davies is also a big critic of Eddie Hearn and a big fan of Frank Warren and Tyson Fury. And he'd come out, hadn't he, and blamed Eddie Hearn and Joshua for the collapse of the Fury fight this time around. So I've not seen that interview, but I'm not shocked at all that's the conclusion that they've come to. Greg's backed up your point, Ray. We're screaming, I've only got 40 minutes and I'm off. He showed Geordie no respect from the first minute. Yeah, totally agree. And, Ray said that. In fairness, he did say he was going to the gym. So, he is training for a fight. So it's sort of a valid excuse. But you say that off camera because he'll have said, right, I'm going to hit record now. So you'd have told him beforehand that, I've got 40 minutes max here. So Artman's back. Thanks for the comment, mate. Tyson is a known cheater. When folks called him out for it, UCAD turned a blind eye. Now he's the champ and fans can't stand him as a man. Strong. Can't stand him for me is strong. However, I do see where you're coming from. Conor Benn now, it's sickening some of the hate that he's getting. And, I'm by no means trying to say he's innocent or anything like that. However, for me, there's a bit of double standards going on with boxing. Some people fail drugs testing, it gets forgotten about very quickly. And some of the hateful comments that Conor Benn's getting, we've talked about it in our group chat. I'm really not a fan. Yes, what are your thoughts on Artman's comments here?
Well, I think with Fury, he does say a lot of things that quite a bit below the belt. I feel like obviously the way he was talking to True Geordie yesterday, like you said, just literally reiterating something like that. You would obviously talk to the interviewer about beforehand. Before, like, we've interviewed fighters, we try and arrange with them and get there. Like, they'll let us know, look, I'm available this day. I've only got this window to. So things like that. It just, like I said, it was just very hostile, and I just feel as though, I don't know, maybe Fury, he likes people patting him on the back, like, I'll just say it as it is. He basically likes it when people like lick his ass. Oh, Tyson, this, Tyson, that. Now everywhere, like there's always everywhere you look, there's always one person who's kind of criticizing his behavior. So he knows whatever interview he does and it goes out, there's going to be someone in the comments who are going to pull him up on his actions. Like, why is he fighting Chisora? Blah blah blah. So he knows that that's what's going to come to it. So I feel like they're already like, I feel as though there's like, I feel like he's a little bit insecure in a way. Like he's very quick to put it on people, etc. But a little bit of negative comment or whatever towards him, and he can't stand it. So I just, yeah, I do agree. I do kind of see where Artman was coming with that comment. But yeah.
Davey's back. Yes, he did talk about Fury stuff, but you're missing the point. He started the interview with zero Fury-related topic. He's then gone in to say it's just an opinion. That's my final opinion. No, Davey, you're absolutely entitled to that, mate. And I think it's one of those topics that everyone's going to have a view on. For me, it was out of order how he handled it, but I do understand where you are coming from. So fair enough on that one, Davey. Imran, pleasure to have you with us in the comment section, mate. We need to do something soon. Fury's no Ali. Please stop comparing him to Ali. It's disrespectful to compare Ali with anyone. You can't compare any sportsman to Ali. He had the greatest impact of any sportsman in history. Now, I'm not going to disagree with Imran there. It's hard. I don't think you can compare, because we'll never see these fights. We'd never see a Tyson Fury against a Muhammad Ali. So you can only really say they're the greatest of that era. But Muhammad Ali fought everybody in his era, and then what he did outside the ring as well simply can't be ignored. So no arguments for me there. You guys in agreement?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Perfect. We've got a load of comments here, guys. It's good. Artman's back. UK fans knew Fury was a terrible person, a known cheater, mob connected, and a glove cheat. UK fans turn a blind eye when Wilder fans call him out. Now he's champion. You're stuck with him. Yeah, I'm not. To be honest, Artman, it's great to have you in the comments, but as for the glove cheat and the whole Deontay Wilder list of excuses, it's a separate video, mate. We'll be here all night, and it's just an absolute load of rubbish, to be fair. Wilder got beat by the better man on the night, and it is what it is. I'm assuming you two don't disagree with me on that.
No, I kind of debunked the whole glove cheat theory. Tyson, I think Tyson won the first fight, to be honest with you. That was given as a draw. I think Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury can fight 10 times. Tyson Fury will win 9 of them. I just think sometimes people are struggling to accept that Tyson Fury's a better man. Okay, I accept that Tyson Fury bottled the third fight. He didn't want to fight that fight. He had to be forced to fight that fight. He's cheated in the past, we know, through drugs and stuff. Are there connections with Daniel Kinahan? There probably has been in the past. There may be some now. We don't know. But I'm not the glove cheat. I just can't support that one. The other ones I can see some reasoning, some rationale, but I'm not too sure is it the glove cheat one because I think they're just throwing all sorts of accusations because I think ultimately it's come down to Tyson Fury stopped Wilder, and the argument was, well, he couldn't stop Otto Warren, and he couldn't make Otto Warren bleed. So how is he going to stop Deontay Wilder? But the glove cheat one's been debunked, so I'm not too sure I buy that one.
Totally agree. Artman's back. Fury's the only boxer in boxing history who's banned from the country, won the title due to money laundering and cheating. But it wasn't due to cheating, in fairness. It's due to potential ties with Daniel Kinahan, and all that situation's ongoing. So I'm not commenting it on the internet. God knows what'll happen to us, especially if it's all true and they are the mob. We'll end up getting shot. Anthony's back. Fury's a great competitor, just can't compose himself out the ring. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Anthony. Great to have you with us tonight, mate. So keep those comments coming. Davey's back, but it's not factual, Ray, mate, is my point too. We don't really know what's been said either before the interview or unedited. Potentially, Davey. No, you're totally right. You with your comment here. We are allowed to disagree. That's why you enjoy the channel, and we enjoy having you on, mate. So no, it's one of them. Everyone's going to have an opinion. Artman's back. When Fury's done and officially retired, I guarantee there's going to be a documentary about his cheating ways and mob connection. Possibly.
But where's this come from that he can't fight in the UK? Like,
No, he's on about the US, mate.
The US ban, I think that's what he's talking about. Yeah.
all right, I thought his last comment that you had on said he was
No, he won the
the only boxer
title.
that's been banned in his own country. Did it not
No,
say that?
No, where he won the title, obviously in America.
Oh, right.
So yeah, but
Right.
there probably will be documentaries. We'll see. But yeah, I'm guessing you're not a Fury fan, then, mate. Chris, pleasure to have you, mate. I feel like I speak to you more than my missus the last few days, which is great to have you with us, mate. Good evening, lads. And yeah, Chris is also with True Geordie, asking proper questions unlike the media. He's also back with Conor Ben's a nice lad. I know he's a nice lad, but at the same time, facts are facts. And he prays for a redemption story for Conor Ben. So do I. I'll be honest, Chris. And you know, we're not going to defend drug cheats here if that's what's happened. But I am an advocate of, and to be fair, we disagree on this as a channel. Well, disagree on elements of it, but I do think we should all just sit back and let the full story come out. However, when you see a story break over the weekend that he reckons he's eating 40 eggs a week, and that's what's done it, not a great look. And I've been the biggest supporter of let the full story come out, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's not a great look. But I'm just gutted because I was a Ben fan and wanted him to do well. But hey ho, we'll see. Greg's back. I love Fury and all his mental health advocacy he's done for men. Absolutely, it's been brilliant. Since he beat Wilder and won the WBC title, his whole demeanour has changed. He's become a lot more tyrannical. Raya, I'll let you handle that one, mate. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I agree. He has done a lot in terms of getting the discussion for mental health in the public eye, particularly for men, because we're not very good at talking about that type of stuff. Has he become more tyrannical since he beat Deontay Wilder? Possibly, yeah. I mean, look at the fact he was dictating terms in public to Anthony Joshua. You just don't do that. Who else do you know that's done that? You just don't. You know, Mayweather didn't even do that. Okay, Mayweather may have said, you've got to do the drug testing, and then that was it. He didn't start giving deadlines to be done in like 72 hours and all this nonsense. I just think Tyson Fury's almost tried to become bigger than the sport itself. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Tyson Fury in the ring. His character outside, there's more question marks. But I do agree with what Greg said there.
No, I'd agree. And on the terms thing, I think that was what really started to get the negative tone on the interview itself, wasn't it? When Geordie asked him just outright, well, you know, you kept giving Anthony Joshua deadlines. Chisora's with the same sort of promoter, Eddie Hearn's involved, although it's fight by fight, same management company. Why didn't Chisora get the same deadlines? Why did he get a much longer extension with no pressure? And you could just see Fury's face drop, and the only answer he could give was Chisora's got balls. Well, in fairness to Joshua, he never said he didn't want the fight. He just said that they actually, if what they're saying is correct, which George Warren didn't deny, they just wanted full clarity and to be party about discussions around revenue because they're on a 40% split of the pot. That was apparently the delay, but it is done now. But that is where it took a dip. Joel, pleasure to have you with us, mate. Fury is renowned for never being honest with what he says, and he's always been known as someone with little tolerance for people with different opinions. Absolutely, and you know Eddie Hearn is bang on. The man is a walking contradiction. Greg agrees with Chris. Me too, but the longer this goes on, listen, Conor Ben, I think he's guilty. I have a lot of respect for the Bens, but not. This has damaged that. Yeah, it isn't a good look, it's got to say. In relation to Artman, Greg said Wilder was beaten by Tyson Fury. It's an obliteration. Artman's back. Now, that point you made about Fury not being a glove cheat is the reason he continues to disappoint you people, because you people believe he can't do wrong.
I disagree with that in the sense that if Tyson Fury did something wrong, I'd be calling him out for it. Just as I've been calling him out about his interview, I've been calling him out that he refused to fight Deontay Wilder. He had to be forced by a court to do it. There's lots of things Tyson Fury's done wrong, you know, and you're on about connections with MTK, etc. But Yeah, so I'm not too sure. I reckon, like I said about Artman's comment, there was lots of things that he raised that I agreed with, but the glove cheat I do struggle with, and that's just my opinion. Um, it's just something that I just can't see it to be actually proven. It's not for me in the same league. I don't know if you guys can remember, but you had Miguel Cotto fighting Antonio Margarito. That for
Yeah,
me was the more evident issue of the glove cheat. There was a guy from the I think it was the 1950s, Billy someone. He died. He got busted up real bad by a glove cheat. Yeah, so I'm not too sure Tyson Fury's in that category. If he's never been known to tamper with his gloves in the past, hasn't since. Yeah,
but
I can't
for
call him.
me, yeah, no, for me, I mean, this whole sort of segment of this stream, if you like, is effectively us criticizing Tyson Fury. So we are sort of calling him out and stuff. But if Deontay Wilder hadn't come out with such a list of excuses in terms of Ricky Hatton had put something in Tyson Fury's water, his costume was too heavy that he wore to
Yeah,
the ring. It might have been raining that day. Who knows? He's a bit like the Jurgen Klopp of boxing, isn't he? So if he hadn't come out with such a long list of excuses, Art Man, potentially then a glove tampering thing might have had a bit more of an investigation. But he undermined his own argument because he just made the whole scenario so laughable, and that was where it fell down for me. Chris is back. If you fail a drugs test, you're guilty. Simple, no ifs and buts and maybes. This isn't being embargained. To be fair, Chris, with that doctor, I can't remember the guy's name who we were seeing who specialises
Dr.
in
Yasser,
offensive
yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Dr. Umar, innit, or something like that.
Yeah, we don't.
I thought he was called Dr. Yasser. What?
Yeah, so you moonlighting.
Whoa, Ray, where you trying to go with this?
Yeah, what do you know about
That's what I thought he was called.
Nice. I think it was Dr. Umar something like that. He had an Instagram account, and then
Yeah, it strangely went off, didn't it? But yeah, 10 out of 10 for the comedy, Chris. But I think he's right. I think, in terms of, I like to think I'm a law-abiding citizen. In terms of everyday crime, somebody is innocent until proven guilty. But the problem is you can't employ that in a boxing ring, because if you're innocent until proven guilty, it means a fight would go ahead until it's proven that he's guilty. Now, if that fighter went ahead and he caused Chris Eubank a serious injury, we all know here, if you're a member of the Eubank family, you would sue the hell out of Conor Benn and the British Board of Boxing Control. You would, because that fight's gone on, knowing that people know he's got some sort of potentially performance-enhancing drugs or something that's masked performance-enhancing drugs in his system. So
you would, Ray, and I suppose this gives everyone an insight into the bit of debate that we have in our group chat. But for me, Eddie Hearn's carrying the can for this. Conor Benn's obviously getting a lot of abuse, and some of it's deserved, but for me, a lot of it is going too far. I mean, some racially based comments, it's just ridiculous. The man's a drug cheat, doesn't matter what race he is, if that's the case.
Even though Eubank Jr. is black as well, but never mind,
it doesn't matter what colour anyone is. It's completely irrelevant, isn't it? Like, it's about a man in a boxing ring. That's as far as it goes. But Wasserman Boxing, Eubank promoters, I know, Yash, you agree with me on this, but they're just not getting any hate, and they were completely prepared to let their man get in that ring.
They're complicit in it as well. They're complicit in it as well.
I was saying in our group chat, didn't I, Josh? I was saying...
you agreed with me, yes?
Yeah, I did. What's it called? In all of this, yes, Matchroom, DAZN are hosting the fight, whatever. So of course they're going to be the ones to take the first line of blame. But at the same time, Eubank's party, you need to have your fighter's best interests at heart as well. So I feel as though people are kind of forgetting, like, they do have some kind of involvement in this. So I feel 100%. Like that's the party that people are kind of forgetting. Like, it's all good and well. Like, yes, Eddie Hearn, people are coming at him, etc., and rightly so, because it had that fight have gone ahead. Like, it's under your show. You knew about this, people's lives at risk. It's not a joke. Like, it's a case of, like, would you put your kid in there with someone who's failed? like who's failed a drug
Exactly,
test.
exactly. You wouldn't.
So I feel like both promoters should, kind of be held
Yeah.
accountable as well,
Taking a bit,
because
yeah.
like the health comes first over the money. Like,
No, I totally agree, mate. I mean, Artman's back. You guys don't want to admit it because deep down it would hurt knowing the guy you praised is a cheater. Why do you think he's banned? He's
I
not
don't
banned
think. Well,
though.
he definitely wasn't banned for the
No.
glove issue.
He,
So that can be proven. That's really
and the critical component here, Ray, sorry to cut you off. He's not banned from boxing in America. He can box. It's a homeland security issue. He's not allowed to travel into the country. That's the issue. It's nothing to do with anything in the ring. It's nothing to do with any potential cheating allegations. Greg's tickled me here when you were speaking. Then yes, I clocked it, so I wasn't laughing at what you were saying. Artman, do you think we're all simpletons in the UK, mate? Artman may not know what that is. I think simpleton's a very UK statement. But yeah, Imran's also back. Artman, not a big Fury fan. It doesn't look that way, does it? Tyson Fury's an unbelievable fighter, but can't stand the nonsense he says outside the ring, calling everyone a dosser. It's getting boring now.
Yeah, true.
Bang on. I'm finding myself agreeing with Chris on here on social media a bit far too much, Chris. But no, you're absolutely bang on there, mate. He didn't. If you go back, honestly, Dave, he said about in the country won the title in. You and I sing from the same hymn sheet, mate. But Artman's back. I respect your opinion. I'm going to do a review of this stream on my channel. Follow me, Artman the Great. I'll be sure to check that one out, mate. Definitely. So it'd be good to get that watched.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
Imran's back. Conor Bentley's not eating 40 eggs. That's rubbish. Yeah, that was my view. I think I was trying to defend him a little bit because I feel sorry for the guy with the abuse he's getting. He's a younger guy. He's got a miss. He's got a young kid. But this comment, guys, let's just pause and just take a little moment. Greg, Josh speaks a lot of truth and sense. Much respect, mate. That'll be it for tonight, guys. We'll wrap it up there. Let's end on the high that we all deserve. Some respect. Look at the hate from Ray and Yas there. Sickening. Sickening. No, cheers for that, Greg. I do try. Davey's back. Stop laughing, Ray. Yeah, sorry about that, Davey. We're just trying to catch up. Anthony, love the channel, guys. Big shout out to my brother Yasir. Keep shining, all of you. Appreciate that. Yes, he's not doing a bad job, is he? In fairness, we might extend him. Don't know. Greg's back. Mayweather was always arrogant. That's why I call him a wanker. Let's scroll down a little bit. Tyson Fury doesn't know if he's Arthur or Martha. He's retired more times than every human on the planet. I think I said that on someone else's stream the other day. They're on about what could be next before a Joe Joyce fight. I said, he'd have retired another 450 times by then. Don't even worry about it. Davey's back. My granddad's uncle, sister's friend's mate holds that title. He retired 10 times, never even had a job. Joel Phillip. I think Ben Snyder is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a lot of ped use in boxing and it needs to be addressed. Jack Hughes, obviously Southern Area champion, friend of the channel, he sort of alluded to that himself, where without mentioning names, but has said that he has come across different stories and people, but obviously legally we're not commenting on anything. Chris is back. Just look at Spencer Oliver, a well-respected pundit and ex-boxer, suffered life-threatening injuries because of his opponent cheating. This is the thing, when these things happen, it's quite scary, and you don't play boxing, and as simple as saying as it is, I think it's critical because it's just true. You don't want to see anybody lose their lives. That would be devastating. So it's got to be taken more seriously, and I think there's got to be pressure on the board as well, hasn't there? Because there's none of this like, he passed a UCAD test legally. What Eddie Hearn said, and now he's getting slagged off for. He's actually correct. According to the British rules, he can box. But if VADA is the holy grail of testing and he failed it, then for me, every other agency or British boxing board around the world needs to come to VADA's standards. Is that a fair comment, Ray?
Yeah, essentially, if VADA's standards are so high, they supersede everyone else's, how can it be acceptable for him to box? I just don't get it. I think it's an outdated policy or unwritten rule that they've had, and I think the British Board of Boxing Control quickly stood their ground and said, "He ain't boxing," which is why they think they've got legal ground over the British Board of Boxing Control, particularly if they've got an agreement from all the fighters to fight. But we all know fighters are the last people to know how dangerous it is. Although they understand the risks, in the middle of a fight, they'll not want to pull out most of the time. They'll still train, they'll still spar, knowing they've got injuries. We all know this as boxing fans. But that fight shouldn't have gone ahead once that came out, because essentially there was a big cover-up, which from the facts that we do know that.
No, absolutely. It was the right outcome. It was just how we got there was wrong.
Yeah.
Greg, lift your BAFTA, Josh. I will, mate. I mean, it's just mine, though, just to be clear. It's not. I'm not sharing it with these guys. They don't deserve it. You've also asked him about Lomachenko. We covered him first and foremost, mate. So when we're done, feel free to watch it. It was about the first 7 or 8 minutes, I believe. We'll move on from this Tyson Fury chat and we'll finish. We'll just talk about the Katie Taylor fight again for those that didn't join us on our live watch along. Yes, obviously you didn't join us on the watch along. Just break that fight down for everybody and just sort of, how did you see that playing out? We were right with our results, but was it as comfortable as you thought it'd be?
Yeah, I think it was a good little performance from Katie Taylor. She made a return, obviously, after that historic night in MSG against Amanda Serrano. She boxed. We obviously predicted for her to win on points against Carbajal. And obviously, I feel like she dominated, and I feel as though it wasn't like a out there performance for me. It wasn't like a 10 out of 10 kind of performance, but she was clearly the winner. She boxed. We've obviously boxed well, and for me, she won the fight quite comfortably and quite conclusively. I feel as though her opponent was a little bit awkward. She couldn't, find her range a bit. Katie Taylor was obviously negating, and obviously as the fight went on, I think in the last round she even tried to push for like a stoppage, but obviously she weren't able to get it. I feel as though that now, obviously, Katie Taylor, she's been there, she's done it all. Me personally, after that fight, she's 36 years old. She's a gold medalist Olympian. She's a world champion. I'd like to see her probably. I don't know what more she has to prove in this boxing game. And obviously, at 36 years old, you're kind of on the way down. Like you're not how you were 5-6 years ago at 36 years old. So I'd probably like to see her probably have that one last fight against Amanda Serrano at Croke Park, and what a way that will be to finish off her career in her home country.
No, 100%. Ray and I said very, very similar on Saturday night. Chris, get that counter out, mate, because yes, I want to get your thoughts on Ellie Scotney winning a European title. What did you think of that fight? Ray, stop smirking.
We know. Obviously, Josh.
You could talk about Johnny Fisher.
Josh is the chairman of Ellie Scotney, the Ellie Scotney fan club. That's it.
Yes, that's it.
Obviously, to be fair,
El Presidente. Yes, I like to go by.
Well, that's it. You heard it from the man himself. But yeah, she won. She put on a good performance. She displayed good boxing skills, and I feel as though she was able to really win quite clearly for me against Mary, what's her name, Romero. And yeah, she's got the rounds in, and she moves on to bigger and better things. She picked up the European title. I'm happy for her because obviously she was meant to get out on the Ben fight, wasn't she? And obviously now she was able to come on and get a win on the Katie Taylor undercard. So she's making some good strides, and I feel like next year, let's see how she goes, and then potentially, she could get a shot maybe. But well done to her for picking up the win.
100%. Now we'll go over to my second fan club because I'm also the president of the Romford Bull fan club. Yes, I wish we'd have been live about 5 minutes before because Ray got to witness how hyped up I got for the Romford Bulls knockout win. First round domination. the Romford Bull Army, and there's now talk of him actually being on the November the 26th card. Yes, what were your thoughts on the Romford Bull?
Well, thoughts on, I feel like, firstly, wow, he really knows, like, his crowd really come out for him, Johnny Fisher. You know, he sold about 2,000 tickets off the back of his own hand. You know, he's fairly inexperienced in this boxing game. He doesn't have that long amateur pedigree. He's a very young heavyweight. He's only 23 years old, so still, he's a baby for a heavyweight, and he only had like 1 or 2 amateur fights. It was his seventh professional fight, I think it was sixth or seventh. And
Seventh.
yeah, it was against a guy who David Adelaide took 5 rounds to finish, but the Romford Bull dealt with him pretty much. He barely broke a sweat. He landed a shot, and as soon as he saw his man hurt, he pounced on him, and you know, he made sure that he wasn't able to continue. I do agree with the fact that he should get out again on the Dillian White undercard if he can, because that fight, like I said, he barely broke a sweat, and he wouldn't have learned anything from that fight. He just went in, he landed a shot, and the fight was done pretty much. He needs someone probably going to give him some rounds, probably take his time a little bit. And I know, obviously, when you have 2,000 people following you around, you want to impress, you want to get that stoppage win, you're pumped up, you know, that the adrenaline is there. But I feel as though maybe if he could get out again by the end of the year, because right now for him, the main thing is getting them rounds in. He needs as much time as possible to progress, and that's the only way he's going to learn. Obviously, it's good what he's doing outside of the ring. He's in there with, you know, the Joe Joyces, the Derek Chisoras, etc. So of course, that's only going to develop him as a fighter and, you know, bring that man strength. Because I still feel like he hits hard as well, and he's only going to get better as well technically, as long as, you know, they guide him the right way. I feel like they need to really take their time with him and don't get too caught up in that he's following and how he's able to sell. Just take their time with him, get him the right fights, and before throwing him in there against an acid test, because he's very inexperienced.
Totally agree. I mean, I agree what Yass is saying there. Ray, now we've had time to just digest the sheer domination that Johnny Fisher treated us to on Saturday night. Who would you put him in with next, being serious? Because they have got to be careful with him. He is inexperienced. What are you thinking?
I just kind of think that he probably more of the same level, if I'm going to be honest. I just kind of think like there's no real need to rush him. He hasn't got that amateur background. He hasn't got that pedigree that the likes of, I keep saying, because there's a group of heavyweights that have turned over in the UK, like Fraser Clark, Siobhan Clark and all that. He hasn't got the amateur pedigree that those guys have. So just continue to learn. Just continue to take those type of fights. Step it up slightly, gradually. Maybe get somebody, one of those tougher Russians in. That probably take him a few more rounds. But I'm not so keen to put him in with names at this moment in time, because he's got a lot of learning to do.
What about Bracamonte? Just a thought. Obviously, he gave Dave Allen a stern test a couple of 3 years ago, maybe 4 actually now. But also, he'd been in with Fraser Clark, and Fraser Clark did a job on him. Now, as you say, the Romford Bull hasn't got that same pedigree, far from it. However, would that not be a good measure? We saw Fraser Clark take him apart a few weeks ago, and then we could see what Johnny Fisher could do with him.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, again, it's just basically you don't want to be putting him in with somebody. I've heard a few people say something like, "Oh, is he ready for somebody like a Nathan Gorman?" And I'm like, well, all of a sudden, when the Nathan Gorman becomes sort of like a gatekeeper, he's nowhere near ready for those type of names. He's just basically, he needs to have the same sort of progression as a sort of like a Campbell Hatton. Yeah. Basically, just get the cannon fodder in. If he knocks him out in the first round, so be it. But he lacks experience, and you can tell that from his shot selection in the ring. So you just better put him off with opponents like you just said, and just build him up like that for about a year and a bit, and then gradually step him up, because the prospects that are turning pro at heavyweight are way past him at this moment in time, even with the less fights than he's had in the professional ranks. So he's got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
Totally.
Also, I just wanted to add, actually, I think we might have mentioned it previously. I feel as though, you know how Matchroom have these shows in like Italy, Spain. I feel like if he could get some of the cards where maybe he's not having as much people like fly, like, you know, where he's kind of like, it's like an away fight for him against someone where he could just really go in there and practice, get rounds in. I feel like that would also do him a world of good, because we've obviously seen in the UK he's got a big following. His fans will follow him wherever he goes. I feel as though getting that international experience just to learn as well would do him good in Europe.
See, I can see Matchroom doing away days with him, whether he ends up featuring on a Canelo undercard or something, and, you know, getting the Romford army out in Vegas. Who knows? I can see that sort of thing happening. Blue Bean is back in the comment section. Mate, it's an absolute pleasure to have you back. I was only talking about you the other day, thinking sort of, where have you been? But you are right. I'm not on my own. Ben and Scott are no longer with us, just not on the channel. They're not dead. And Ray and Yas are now with us. So, yeah, pleasure to have you back, Blue Bean. And then here you go, our last topic, just very quickly, because we are running over. And this comment off Darren. Darren was a new subscriber that joined us on Saturday. So pleasure to have you back, Darren. He is talking about Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. Now, I'm thrilled to finish on this because I've eaten my slice of humble pie. Ray, yeah, you called Zepeda. But I was the one who got the Jake Paul fight. And I don't know if that's actually a flex for me, but I did get it correct.
So did Yas, to be fair.
No, Yas said
No. I had Jake Paul to stop him.
Yeah. Don't take it away
from
me.
Okay. Fair enough.
Give Josh his flowers.
Flowers, BAFTAs, I'll take the lot. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, so for those, just quickly, those who didn't know the results, Jake Paul won unanimous decision. He did get a knockdown on Anderson Silva in the 8th and final round. Really, for me, the biggest takeaway from it is he's calling out Nate Diaz, who's another ex-MMA, ex-UFC guy. No. Quite simply, I'm not even going to give it over to you guys. He just needs to not be fighting MMA people now. He's not going to gain anything from fighting these names. He needs to fight at least ex-boxers. And, you know, Carl Froch has come out and said he'd take the fight. He wouldn't even train for him. Ray, what would your thoughts be on Carl Froch coming out and flattening Jake Paul?
I think everyone will want to see that.
They would, wouldn't
they? I don't think Jake Paul will. I think he'll do what he can to avoid and delay fighting a boxer. I think you say there's nothing to gain from fighting an ex-MMA fighter. There's everything to gain. He gets well paid. He gets to knock somebody out that has got a fighting background, not necessarily a boxing one, a fighting background. So he's better off doing that. From in his mind, he'll not fight a boxer until he's forced to. And I think what will happen is you probably get some outrageous comments or clever reverse tactics from Suleiman. Was it Suleiman from the WBC? You know, yeah, I'll try to compare him to Muhammad Ali, or trying to see if he beats this fighter, he gets a ranking. No. We all know he does need to fight a boxer, but I think he'll delay that for as long as possible, for many different reasons. But I think he seems his forte to be beating up former MMA fighters in a boxing ring.
No, 100%. I mean, for me, as much as we're sick of talking about it, and I said it on my reaction yesterday, that's just why the Jake Paul, Tommy Fury fight makes sense, because they're both, although Tommy Fury claims to be a boxer, he's kind of not really. But experience level wise, they're the same. So the fight makes sense, and obviously it sells. So that I'd love to see Froch flatten him, or Tony Bellew's even talked about it. But in reality, sadly, we're just not going to get that. So I would take the Tommy Fury fight, and it's a 50-50. Just to finish, Joel Phillip, thanks for staying with us, mate. It's quite clear JP is all about the money. MMA fighters have the hard man image, but not the boxing experience to be a major threat to him. Absolutely bang on. and Chris, these YouTubers in boxing are about as relevant as cardboard and recycling bin. Let's be real. Chris, no arguments from me, mate. Like, this misfit shows that, again, the Sauerlands are in fact, I'm feeling like the Sauerlands are going to become my new Frank Warren. I'm getting sick of them. They're bad for boxing. But yes, we'll finish there, guys. It's been a longer one than usual, but thanks for joining us. Lots more content coming this week, so stay tuned. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Cheers, guys.